You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster.
Yeah, now check my lenses. Yeah, look through my window, my crescendo. Step up the tempo, my life's an innuendo, but I'm super like Nintendo. I bounce back like Rambo. I'm the truth, Paul Pierce. Y'all still wet behind the ears. Your peers cried tears cause I spit so fierce.
You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster.
Yeah, I got a bad habit of smacking these maggots like I'm B-Rabbit. I told you boys to go grab it. Throw the life jacket, but you fell and bumped your head dead, Bob Saget. So moving forward, do not feel the mention or pay attention. I am the fourth dimension, I'm the shark, motherfucker, now you've been bitten.
You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster. You did it, you woke a sleeping monster.
Oh, that's for the real apples. Yeah, man. You looking like the devil who created you. You looking like the devil who created you. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the OZone Alive. Straight from the bowels of hell. It's your boy Oz in the building. And I'm here because I suppress the truth. Let's see, I suppress the truth. I hate God. I love to sin. What else? I was never really a Christian. Yeah, I'm sure there's others. But what's up, everybody in the chat? Just laying the groundwork, the framework for the conversation. I'm an atheist, so that means, according to at least YouTube Christian apologetics, those things apply to me and many others. But I pulled up the video we started the other night. I'll kind of play this as we get started. Wait for people to join. If anyone wants to jump in, any and all are welcome to join. I'll put the link up at the top of the side chat here in a second. But obviously, you know, as soon as a theist wants to join in, they take priority because I want to talk about the theistic
idea of evangelism and why, if God is the only one that can change a heart or change a mind, why is the word evangelism even talked about? Why is it addressed? Why is it used? I don't know. You tell me. But real quick before I put that up, I do want to say a couple things here real quick. If I can scroll back up to it here. There it is. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for viewing the support and everything we had when we had Drew. Genetically modified skeptic in the house the other night, and everybody showed up and supported, and I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. And Drew's awesome, and I'm hoping to put together another episode with he and myself, and hopefully from TikTok, Eve was framed, and focus on the praise and worship and the emotional priming that 100% blatantly happens in church. So I'm hoping to put that together. So I just want to say thank you, because again, you guys showed up in a big way and showed a lot of support, and I appreciate that. And as I shared, I won't dive all the way back into it, but Mike on the panel that I shared with he and Dr. Josh and Seth Andrews at Better here in Fort Wayne in June was a very pivotal point for me, and has really helped me tremendously, and even improved the content that we have been kicking out since. So mad love thrown his way. I do truly appreciate it. And we're still working on graphics or everything, but I do want to start giving little teasers. I have a couple of new shows that the Atheist Network group has coming up, and one of them does include that guy, Dr. Joshua Bowen. But the main host of that, actually, I wish I had a funny pick to show, but I don't have a funny pick, but I will try to find one. But the main host of that show is Pat Lowinger, and the name of the show is Can You Dig It, Sucker? And obviously the main point, or the main focus of that show is going to be archaeology, and just, biblical history, and even ancient religion, ancient religious history. And they'll have other guests on. We're starting out right now. I think we agreed on it'll be every 2 weeks with Pat, and Dr. Josh will be on once a month. And we'll see, what the response is, and take it from there. But looking forward to that one. And then the other one, the other one, we're still deciding on the official title of it, but I think it's going to be something like You Rang Tang, or Tang You Rang, or something like that. But we're going to reintroduce a Tang call-in show, but it's going to be 3 brand new personalities to the Tang gang as far as the roster, and it will be Heathen Queen, The Skeptic, and the greatest rapper alive, David McDonald. So you heard that here first tonight. We'll have graphics out, and we'll start to really promo it here in the next week or so. But yes, Heathen Queen, The Skeptic, and the greatest rapper alive, David McDonald, hosting a call-in show on the Atheist Network Group YouTube channel. So, as promised several weeks ago, we've been working on things behind the scenes and ramping up new content improving content, improving even just the appearance of YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that. We're gonna make it schmexy. Gonna make it schmexy and make it do the damn thing. Oh, did I see? There he is. The host of Can You Dig It, Sucker? Yep, so be he and Dr. Josh. We'll have guests on here and there. But yeah, we're now officially, since we got past the conference and we can plan and have the energy and the focus put on that, we're adding some shows. We brought back, obviously, Aunt Kathy's show, Vintage Explorer, focusing on, kind of our, what do you want to say, our moniker now, Atheist Your Way. And it really has nothing to do with God arguments or defining atheism. It's focusing on the talents, the gifts, the interests, hobbies of those in our community that we don't normally see behind cameras on screen, and talking about whether it's gardening, music, knitting, sewing, and I'm sure some episodes there's going to be tons of people, other episodes it's going to be a niche group, but we need to not just normalize atheism, but also humanize atheists. And I love that Aunt Kathy and Apostate Ashley are doing that. Ashley's helping to produce on the back end, and she'll be present on screen as well. But yeah, there's a lot to be excited about, and different things we're adding, and other improvements that we're making. And there's a couple other things that I know I have in mind, and Jen and I have discussed, and we'll roll out as soon as it's time to do that. But I'm comfortable now announcing those things, and we'll have graphics and all that ready, like I said, next week or so. And I think the only thing, let's see, I can't remember if I loaded this or not. I did not, but you know what? Let me load this, because after Better, I think this is important, because this was a huge win, in my opinion, for the conference, as far as not just all of us, coming from really all across the country, but even locally here, people that live local, finding out about the conference, attending, and then those folks that do live local, finding out about groups and things like this. So I thought I already had this loaded, so I apologize, but I am going to take the time to load this in the StreamYard, because I think it's important. I think it's worth it to do so. Give me uno momento, por favor. And while I'm doing this, this coming Wednesday will be the second episode in the first pre-recorded episode for Aunt Kathy and Apostate Ashley on Vintage Explorer, and the Murderous One, Murdershed Steve, is their first guest. So a throwback to the original Atheist Roundtable days. So it'll be badass. I'm looking forward to that. And here we go. So this Sunday, I don't have a time on there, because it's going to be, I'm going to be a little loose on the time, because at 10 a.m. Sunday, the Humanist Fellowship Assembly is a local secular / atheist / humanist group that meets here in Fort Wayne. And I got to meet them, and Jen and I got to hang out with them at O'Reilly's here downtown in Fort Wayne. They're an awesome group. But as soon as their group is over, this coming Sunday, we're going to actually do a live in-person stream and interview the entire group, the ones that are involved, as far as leading the group and heading up the group. And for those that attend, those that want to be on camera, comfortably on camera, are welcome to hang out and talk as well. But we're going to do that and support local activity and activists. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm pumped. So based on what they've told me, the group starts at 10. So we'll probably, I'm gunning for about 1. Sorry, no, 10. Yeah, about 1. Give me about half hour to an hour to get everything set up. About 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. And that's going to be the shit, man. We're going to have some fun and promote some local activity as well. So now that I got through that, let me get this link posted up here, and we can get down to business. And while I'm waiting for that, I'll play the drink music. Everybody have a drink. Yeah, yeah. Yay. All right, I'm posting the link right now. All right, you should be good to go. Should be pinned top of the chat there. It should be in the chat for now, but also pinned at the top of the chat. So everyone is welcome to join in if you'd like. But as I stated earlier, any theists jump in, they have priority, and I want to talk to them. We want to have the conversation with them and folks around evangelism, and if the God, a God, whichever God it is that they adhere to, why is evangelism important? Why is it talked about? Why is it discussed? If the God, a God, is the only one that can change a heart, the only one that can change a mind, why is that even part of the conversation? So I'm seeing all the tank top comments. So sun's out, guns out, blacka. But I do have this video ready, so the link is there. Anybody wants to join, you can. But I'm a kind of Jesus Christ. I bet you do. I bet you do, Shane. I bet you do. Any hoot, as Jena would say, any hoot. Play the video. Anybody wants to join in, we can start the conversation. And I can't say it enough, reiterate it enough. If and as soon as a theist wants to jump in, they are going to have priority, which means atheists, agnostics. I'm going to tell you to shut the fuck up.
Right then and there to give up everything in their old life and just simply follow Christ. It may take some time. And so Paul says, hey, sometimes you may be the person that just plants the seeds. Other times you may be that person that has to water those seeds, and that may take a lot of time. You may have to spend time with that person to try to get to know them. And then ultimately, as I said in point 1, it's God that gives the increase. Now, how exactly should we go about doing this? Well, first tip I want to give you is to listen to them, right? You know, somebody told me a long time ago that we have.
So again, we're picking up where we left off last time with this, but I'll skip the first part. But the literally what he does here is so my background pre-COVID has been all I would say 99% sales management, sales leadership. I was even in executive level management and leadership for a huge organization. So I as soon as I hear a sales process, as soon as I hear a sales training manual, I can hear it from and smell it from a mile away. And this is a sales process, what he's given us. So why do we need a sales process? And I kind of alluded to this before we had guests join us last time. Why do we need a sales process for Christianity? Why is there a sales process? If there's evidence Just give us the evidence. Like, what? Why do we need all this coaching? Just present the evidence, bro.
We have 2 ears and only 1 mouth for a reason, because we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak.
Real quick, YouTube apologist, I hope you heard that. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen with the 2 ears and shut the yapper. Just listen. I get down with that. Just listen.
And so the idea here is that you're listening to them, trying to gather up information, just getting to know them. What are their life experiences? What are their pain points? Are there some things that happen to them in their life, whether it's things at church, or maybe they were disappointed in God, or maybe they grew up in church, but something happened along the way that turned them away from God, and now they're in this place where they don't believe in God. So the more you listen, the more you're able to get an idea of their worldview, where they're coming from, and ultimately, the more you listen, the Holy Spirit is going to craft a tailor-made process, if you will, to try to share your faith with this person, as opposed to just simply doing the same cookie cutter experience or same cookie cutter strategy, if you will, for every single person that you meet. And then the second thing you want to do is ask them questions. Like,
This is literally a sales process. So I'm 3 years removed now from any type of sales management, leadership, yada yada yada. So let's see if I can remember which I helped write I helped write the fucking training manual, so I hope I can remember most of this. So greet, so hello, relate, discover, advocate, close/support. Let's see if it goes something along those lines, because I have a really big hunch that's exactly what the fuck is going to happen here. Actually, I'm pretty positive. I haven't watched this one all the way through, but I've watched another guy that I think kind of ripped this guy off. So it's probably going to go along those lines. But Christianity is a product, ! And I want to make sure I put it there, because that's fact. Just another widget to be bought on the open market. You have to make the potential buyer with the fear of missing out. Christianity is an MLM. Amway. Jesus, holy shit. I'm going to hit the applause, and that's going to replace the drinking song on this one, because this one deserves an applause. Because I don't know how many times I've said it on our channel, that Christianity, especially this new thing we call Christianity, which I call Paulinism, that the Apostle Paul started. Apostle Paul is the first. He's the OG, CEO, president, yada, 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 of the first MLM organization to ever exist. Ever. So for those listening, let's see how close this lines up with a sales process, which again, I did this almost my entire adult life, my career up till COVID shutting everything down. I'll give you the model that I put together for sales, and let's see if we follow something at least very, very similar to akin to what I'm going to say. So you greet, so you meet. You relate, so relating is building rapport, yada, yada, yada. Discover, so you start to ask the questions, get more intimate. Discover. And then you, overcome objections, however you want to, I called it solve to keep it simple, but solve. So solve problems, answer questions, overcome objections, and then close/support, because you close the sale, or in this in this context, they get saved, then you have to support, right? So it's I have a feeling we're going to stay on par, and no pun intended, because his last name is Parr, and I didn't even mean to do that, but that's what we do here. Yay!
A genuine interest in their life so that they will know that you're not just trying to just get another notch in your belt as another convert, but you.
And again, sorry, before I hit the play button, I'm going to say anybody can join. We can talk about this, the different conversations that we've had, even if it's atheists, skeptics, agnostics, whatever. But I definitely want to talk to theists. If you're out there, you're listening, I want to talk about evangelism. Why is it necessary? What's the purpose? Especially if God is the only one that can change a heart and change a mind. But if any atheists, agnostics, whatever want to jump on, we can talk about our different experiences. But if any theists want to jump on, we'll halt the conversation there and focus on why they believe that it's important and why we should listen.
Really do want to get to know them. You really want to develop a relationship with them, and you want to be friends with them, because over time that is going to build trust. And after you put the time in, you're building trust. And after you build the trust, then you're able to share truth with this person. And not only that, it will allow you to see when the right time is for you to share the gospel, because you've been tracking with this person for some time, and God will tell you exactly when their heart is ripe and ready to hear the truth. Okay, number 4 is huge. Be ready to help them overcome the objections that they may have about the Christian faith. As a matter of fact, 1 Peter 3:15, one of my favorite verses in the New Testament, it says this: "And if someone asks you about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it." Now, some people that you meet just want to argue with you, and I'm going to talk about that in the next point. But some people that you meet, they are genuinely interested in the Christian faith. Like, they have real questions that if they could somehow get answers to these questions, it very well might help them overcome some of the objections that they have to the Christian faith. Now, this list of questions that I'm going to give you is by no way exhaustive, but I think that these are some questions that if you are a believer ready to share your faith, you should be at any time locked and loaded and ready to give an answer to these basic questions. Question number 1 is, why does God allow evil in the world? That's a question that a lot of people ask. They cannot seem to be able to reconcile, if you will, God being good, but yet there's evil as well. The second question you want to be ready to answer is, why is Christ and Christianity the only way to get to heaven? I mean, that is a genuine question that a non-believer or a seeker might have. The third question is, how can God be both 3 and 1? I mean, this doesn't make sense. I thought that Christianity was a monotheistic religion, and now you guys are talking about this Trinity and all of that. Can you help me understand that? Question number 4, how can the Bible be written by God whenever it was written by men? And if that's the case, aren't there errors?
And here's the other thing. So remember, well, we started this last time. We had to cut it off because we had people join the chat. But he starts this off with the top most powerful ways to share your faith with any unbeliever. Any. And we're through the first few, but now we don't have 7 top points. We have 7 points, and now we have, this one has 5 sub points. But I thought, according to modern day Christians like 2022 and maybe shortly before that, and obviously going on, that this was the gospel message is a simple message that you can simply share and serve up on like this silver platter, where it's easy to understand and easy to decipher and to know whether it's true or not true. But this is complicated, bro. Especially for someone that's never been in church. Like this is, you're blowing their minds right now. like I'm listening to as somebody who's a former Christian for almost my entire life. Almost my entire life. So I get the points you're making. I don't believe them. I think all of this is nonsense. It's just regurgitated. It's just regurgitated information over and over and over again without any evidence, any reliable, good, dependable evidence. But it's just a regurgitation of everything that you've been taught and everything you've learned and everything you've been indoctrinated into. But just remember, I put it up on purpose because I said it before we got started. My sales plan, when I was I was a sales director. I've written multiple sales manuals, and the basic construct was greet, relate, discover, solve, close / support. Why does Christianity need a sales format? Why does Christianity need a sales script? Just produce the evidence.
Errors in it. I mean, what about the translations that we have? Can we really trust those? How do we know that the Bible that we have today is really the Word of God and it's not just something that was part of a conspiracy theory that was written by man? And then another question that you may want to be ready to answer is, how do we know that Jesus Christ ever lived? And if he lived, how do we know that he indeed...
Oh, hold on. This is my favorite. This is my favorite before we even go there. Jill, I think that's you. We've never spoken before, but I'm familiar with, I think, your avatar. Easy enough for a child to understand. At the same time, it has theologians scratching their heads. That's why the Bible loves to tell you to hope and believe and think like a child, right? And reason like a child. And if not a child, then he commands you to just be a slave to Christ, to be a slave to God. Why? Because they don't want you to think like an adult. They don't want you to be rational. They don't want you to be grown up. They just want you to believe the shit without actually breaking it down and not having the faith of a child. That's where it all gets problematic. Because if you think about the different ways that whether it's Yahweh or Jesus addresses its or his or whatever her followers, it's always minimizing and criticizing and reducing their value as an adult human. It's either you're a child, you think like a child, and even if you're not, it says why would you not? Why would you not have the faith of a child or think like a child? But then if you do believe, then you're just supposed to be a slave to this. You're supposed to be a slave to this God, or a slave to this theology, or a slave to this doctrine, a slave to this book. And I don't give a shit where you come from, what time period you come from. Being a slave to anything or anyone is bullshit. Move along.
Rose from the dead. And so here are just a few questions that people typically ask whenever they have objections to the Christian faith, that it would be in your best interest to have answers ready for these questions. Okay, tip number 5 is very important. Whenever you are sharing your faith with an unbeliever, don't debate them.
Hold on, I thought we were going to talk about Jesus. Damn it. I was all excited. All right, so don't debate them. So YouTube apologists, Jill, listen. As he said, your Christian brethren said just a few minutes ago, I think, Jill, before he jumped in, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. So listen and shh.
Once again, 1 Peter 3:15 says, and if someone asks you about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it, but do this in a gentle and respectful way. So this is huge. Just pay attention to what I'm getting ready to say. Some of the people that you meet and come in contact with are genuinely going to be interested in wanting to understand what Christianity is all about. But there is another group of people out there that they're not really genuinely seeking truth. All they're trying to do is try to trap you and try to cause you to have doubt about what you believe, and they're not really interested in learning about Christianity.
Oh, no. Oh God, that's so slimy. That's so slimy. That's so slimy. No, I was a believer. I was actively in the ministry for I don't know how many years. To say that I didn't want to know anything about Christianity, like that is such, oh my God, that's such a leap, bro. That's such a leap. That's such a leap. Come on, man. No, I would tell you and anyone in the chat, and this is what I tell my kids. I don't want to teach you, and I don't want to tell you what to think. But I would love to help all of us, including me, know how to think. And if we are going to believe in something, that we believe in more true things, that we know we have good reason to believe, that there's good evidence that we can demonstrate. There's good reason to believe in said claim or proposition. But to throw that out there, Mr. Parr, that's some bullshit, bro. And again, those in the chat, atheists, well, first of all, theist, atheist, agnostic, whatever. Anybody can jump in. I don't know why. Is it not? Did I not pin it? Oh, it's pinned. Okay. You can jump in. We can talk. And I'll just say all are welcome. Atheists and agnostics, you jump in. As soon as a theist jumps in, they have priority. But here, hashtag TANG gang. We don't do all the over talking and belittling and all that. You know, when we do video reviews and all that, we get a little sassy. But when we have one-on-one conversations, we are as respectful as you are. So if you come in, you want to talk, and you're cool and you're respectful, that's exactly what you're going to get back. If you're a dick, you're an asshole, just know I'm going to serve it right back up on a silver platter. So that way we're all clear. But yeah, let's get it.
These are the types of people that the Spirit of God quickly in that conversation should lead you to go in a different direction, because their heart is still hardened towards the things of God's word, hardened towards the things of truth, and they're not in a position, no matter how convincing your argument is.
So again, I have one person backstage, but then Mr. Parr, or whatever you are, pastor or deacon or reverend or prophet, or it doesn't fucking matter to me. Why do you have a YouTube channel? Why are you creating this video? And why are Christians out here, whether it's just on the streets or on YouTube or Facebook or the Twitter sphere, why are you even doing this? If you can't change the mind and you can't change the heart, and only God can do that, why are you wasting your time? Because when you start to throw out things like, well, God has hardened your heart. That's a claim. How do we demonstrate that, Mr. Parr? How do you demonstrate that God has hardened my heart? And what heart are you talking about? Because I'm living, I'm breathing, like I don't have any lack of blood flow to my extremities. My blood pressure's good. My heart rate's good. Like even hearing this nonsense, like I'm still like, there's no, my heart rate or blood pressure is not escalated. Like, what are you talking about? Because if you're talking about my physical heart, it'd be dead. But I only know of one heart that I have. So when you say that, that's an assertion, that's a claim that's being made. What the hell are you talking about? What in the hell are you even talking about? And before we jump, Jill, I have no idea. Well, I'll just put it up here. I have no idea what you're talking about after the R and Raw embarrassment. I'm not R and Raw. I have no idea what you're even talking about. Cool, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea what you're even referring to. But before we go on, I'll give a proper introduction, especially for this gentleman. We have to do it.
Hallelujah!
Hallelujah! Praise the Lord, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. The Atheist Network Group is proud to present the man of the $666 suit, Nick Suter. Nicholas.
Hello. Hey.
How dare you?
I know I don't have it on. I'm so sorry. No disrespect intended. It's getting dry cleaned when we're replacing it with a $700 suit. The tax implications are just so much better. So $700. It's gonna look nice too. So that's what I'm doing. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very good, thank you. Doing good. I saw you come by my stream tonight too, which was really nice to see you. It's always so nice to see you come down. So thank you. I love coming by here too. You guys are just, dear Lord, the amount of times that you guys are coming up with you guys are putting a show on. Holy, it's always something. It's always something new. It's really good. So always fun to come in.
No, we well, it helps. I've talked about this before. It does help for me anyway. Having the bipolar diagnosis, like my motor never stops, so I keep going and going and going. So it could be at 7:00 at p.m. Eastern time, or it could be 3 a.m. in the morning Eastern time. You just never know when I'm going to go live. Now the other ones typically have a more set schedule because they're not insane like I am, but no, I'm proud of all of them, and I prefer having a schedule, but yeah, my brain hates schedules. So
I am my wife is a little OCD when it comes to schedules and stuff like that, and I cannot abide by any kind of schedule in time. Still, we've been doing this for how long, and we sort of only have half a schedule. We don't really, and it kind of, it's so limiting. I'm so I know exactly what you mean. And I can't tell you the number of times where I've said to myself, "Oh, it's 4 a.m. in the morning. I really want to talk with someone," but it's like that's not what we do. It's kind of off-brand. So sometimes I'll check to see if you're up, or I'll say, I wonder if Oz is doing something. If I'm lucky, you are. Either that, or I'll drop in on Amy's. But anyone who's got an open hang, and I can come in and shoot the shit. I'm also a verbal processor, which I suspect you've got some of, which just means, I don't know what the fuck I think until I hear myself say it, and then sometimes I'll say, "Oh, that was a really bad hot take." let's never say that again. But it's like I need to like workshop shit, and I need to talk about it, and that's how I know what I really feel. And so, I think coming on air and talking about this stuff and going over these videos is a huge part of going through the process. I think we sort of think like you're supposed to know what you think and what you feel. It's so rare that anybody really knows what they think, and what you think can really change from moment to moment. I think it's seeing this stuff and shooting the shit on it, and risking the hot take, risking saying something really stupid, but kind of being vulnerable and saying, oh God, you know what, this guy's really full of shit. And then maybe later you say, okay, you know what, I disagree with him, I shouldn't have said that, sorry. But you know what, you have to risk the hot takes, and you have to risk going out there and saying what you're thinking at the time, because that's how you're going to figure out what you really mean. So
absolutely. And real quick before I follow up on your point, I am going to, because it's bugging me, I'm editing your display name because you forgot the last part of the parentheses on end time. So I just
Jesus, yeah, okay, let me get back to my machine. Sorry, I'm making like food for the perfect. Thank you.
I got your back, though. I got your back.
Thank you.
But no, what you said, I'm gonna say this so I don't forget. And then we do have a hot take super chat that I'll get to in a second. But just like I remember when I spent a lot of time really digging into the mythicist position, and so many not Christians, so many atheists like we're on the prowl and like attacking, and I'm like, hold on. Let's just talk about the evidence, because that's what we talk about. Before we're atheists, we talk about being skeptics, right? And following the evidence or the lack thereof. Why are we so quick to just say, well, yes, this thing existed, because we don't take that for Yahweh? And then all of a sudden, other people, the more I took my time and kind of explaining my position, it was like, okay, there's a piece or two from the just the literal raw mythicist position where I'm like, maybe I don't align with that. But what I do know is there is no Jesus Christ. This there's no divine.
Yeah.
Jesus. There's nobody doing the miracles. There's nobody raising from the dead. If it's that, however we want to cut that up, however we want to chop that up and slap a fucking label on it or do whatever. All I know is that motherfucker didn't exist. the dude that's rubbing mud, and I rub it in Nick's eyes, and all of a sudden he's not blind because I rubbed spit and dirt in his eyes, and raising and he's walking on water. He's turning water into wine.
I'm not blind anymore, but I am getting a disinfectant after that. But yes, no.
So I don't care if there was a historical Jesus. If he's not divine, then it's not the Jesus the Christ. It's not the Jesus of the Bible. So whether that means I'm a mythicist or I'm a whatever, you could call me whatever you want, but that dude didn't exist. And when I first started, it was more playful because I was just starting my journey into researching and studying and discovering more about the Jesus character and the narrative. But once I really dug in, I was like, hold on, we don't have any reliable evidence to demonstrate that this Jesus, this divine character, ever was a real thing. Why are we so quick to just write off and concede that? We don't concede Yahweh.
And we don't concede Moses actually either, to be fair.
Yeah, not anymore. No. And for a minute, I don't anymore, but for a minute, I got crucified for that shit. And now it's laid off because I'm very emphatic on my position and why I hold it. But yeah, to what you said, I 100% agree. And before we move on, I do have to say we have a super chat.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Get my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
I want to say one point about what that guy just said, though. The clip that you played.
Hold on, let me.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So super chat from Pat. The host, the new upcoming show here on the Atheist Network group. Can you dig it, sucker? This is my contribution to Nick's new jacket. $2. Holla. All right, go ahead, Nick.
Well, thank you for the contribution. Can't wait to see him and Biddy Buddha, and it's so funny because I know each of them separately, and then the two of them are just like they're so different, but they really do a good job together. So Okay, so he had said, okay, sometimes atheists are just interested in like fighting you and deconverting you, and but sometimes they're interested in learning more about you. I'll split the difference with the guy. The reality is, um, uh, we've all seen the really militant ones who, I think what happens is when you like first deconvert, you feel like you've been lied to. For a lot of people, I know this was with me, and it's like such a big deal that all of a sudden you're like running around like Chicken Little, the sky's falling. But you also, you can go over the top, and then that kind of thing can happen. And that's the ones that most of Christians see, just like, by the way, most of the religious people that we see are the real nut jobs. And there are actually a lot of Christians who don't bother going to church. They consider themselves Christian, but they don't go to church, and they don't necessarily vote that way. So, but it's like, yeah, you know what? If I'm talking to a Christian and I'm asking them about their religion, yeah, it's probably because I think they're wrong and I'd like them to start thinking about it. So yeah, he may have a point there. But having said that, if he's telling me about his religion, it's because he thinks I'm wrong and he thinks he's going to convert me to Christianity. So it's not like, as long as you're being respectful, as long as you really are genuinely trying to listen, which some atheists do and some don't, but as long as you're listening, then it's like, so it's a little disingenuous when we're sitting there going like, well, we can have a real conversation so long as they're not trying to deconvert me. Yeah, tell you what, we'll have a real conversation so long as you're not trying to convert me. And then there's probably very little you have to say about Christianity I didn't already know. But yeah, that was my thought.
No, it's and I'm and that's where you being on YouTube or social media is different than and we do have a theist guest backstage, so I'm going to say this quickly and we'll bring them on. But this was kind of my point in starting this, and I don't know if this will ever get to this point because we are on YouTube, but it was to try to engage the person maybe that would meet at a restaurant or at the mall or wherever that don't spend hours upon hours on here, and maybe they are a street preacher or they go out and witness, but it's it's because their church told them to, right? I want to talk to those people because those are the people that engage me on a daily basis, and the YouTube apologists, I've met a few that I can get along with and we're cool, but for the most part it's just the continual regurgitation of the same thing without actually getting to have a real conversation. And I want to talk to people that we can actually sit down. Like it was about 8 months ago or whatever that I got to have like a 2 or 3 part series with a local pastor here in Fort Wayne where we met at Panera Bread and we both agreed that we would record it and shared it. And those were some of the most awesome and amazing conversations I ever had. And here he's clergy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of those conversations that I've been able to have here on YouTube with people I've met via YouTube, because I don't know why. I don't know why, and I don't want to disparage or talk shit about all of the YouTube apologists because I know they're not all the same. But that seems to be kind of the narrative where it's like, no, I don't care about your contingency argument. I don't care. I want to talk about why we do this, and like particularly this one tonight before we bring this theist on. Why why evangelism? Being a former Christian that was grown up in a church and part of the Christian sect, that evangelism was so concentrated on and so emphasized. If my question remains, if only God can change the heart or change the mind, why is this even part of our conversation? Why are there YouTube channels? Why are there evangelistic ministries? Why are we doing these things? So that being said, I don't want to keep our guests backstage, but I will say for theists, atheists, agnostics, I don't care where you lie on the scale or the spectrum. It doesn't matter to me. We keep it cool. We keep it respectful. As long as you're cool, we're cool. As soon as you're not, I'm not, and that usually means it's the end of the conversation. So, without saying anything else, Jill, for the first time, welcome to the Atheist Network Group. Thanks for jumping in. Hello.
The atheist what?
The Atheist Network Group.
Oh my, you have your own channel name, huh? All right. The
Is it?
Just wanted to come in and tell you because I couldn't respond to you in the chat because you're one of your mods, Titus or whatever his name is, Uranus, put me in timeout. The comment was actually in response to someone else in the chat, so it wasn't a response to you. They mentioned that Christianity or belief or faith is irrational. So that was in response to that comment.
Okay. Well, because the chat goes by, I catch comments here and there, and I miss some and catch some. I don't even know what you're referring to, but yes, we do have a channel name, and that's the long form. We just usually go by TANG, just to keep it simple. But yes, just like every other YouTube channel, we do have a name.
Okay, all right.
Have you come on to like a lot of like atheists, like, I mean, because Oz is just keeping this open and because he wants to talk to theists. Have you come on to a lot of atheist channels and said hello?
Oh, sure. I love going to atheist channels. They're too
Well,
afraid to come to mine, so sure. Yeah, I love answering questions.
I was about to say, Nick, I've seen, and again, I don't engage a lot in like Clubhouse or Discord, but I have via the how would I like to refer to him? The Savage, Tom Rabbit. I've seen Jill and others on his channel.
I think I've heard of you on occasion, but I don't think I've ever actually listened. I don't know if Tom Rabbit usually does Darth Dawkins. I think I only ever spoke with Darth Dawkins once, so I don't.
Well, but even all that, let's throw all that out the window, Joe.
He's gonna owe Darth 15% of his pension, his YouTube pension.
you ain't kidding. But Joe, because I prefer to before I ever claim to be an atheist, I always say before that I'm a skeptic first. So I always, this is my first interaction with you. So I'm not, I don't care what anybody else says or what I've seen on Tom Rabbit or whatever else. I try to be fair and base things on my own personal interaction. So I'm going to do everything I can to start with a clean slate. So the kind of the point of this is, or what I'm trying to keep the point of this particular stream is evangelism, whether it's Christians, Muslims, what have you. What is the if whether it's Yahweh or Allah, whatever God someone prescribes or subscribes to, what is the point in evangelism if the God you serve is the only one that can change one's heart or mind? Why is evangelism even part of the conversation?
All right, so you're taking the Calvinistic position as the position of Scripture. I agree. So God's election is solely based upon his own grace, his love, and his good pleasure. It's Ephesians 1, Matthew 11. So God is showing mercy to some members of the human race, all of whom really deserve judgment. So that's his grace, it's his prerogative, Romans 9. And it depends completely on God. Now, why does he employ us still to be his ambassadors in the earth? Well, Jesus said it plainly, well, not so plainly, but he said that we are the salt of the earth, meaning we are preserving the earth. So we know from history that salt was a preserver. So just imagine what would happen if we were to remove the Christian faith from the world. Well, we're seeing how that looks. Just look at any of the Democratic run plantations right here in America. So that's the reason for evangelism, reaching people with the truth. Truth matters.
Okay, so I want to focus on evangelism. And I'm very familiar with the scripture you shared, being the salt and or the light of the earth. That is not a I don't read into unless you can share or show some type of exegesis on it where that is a command or suggestion for Christians to go out and truly prophesize or evangelize. I don't see that as a command or order to go out and share the message. I just feel like it's more of a you maintain in order to contain, more than it is to go out and grow or expand, because I think that's counter to whether you want to say it's Calvinism or it's just the gospel message, because then you could go the flip side and say that Christians are ordered to go out and make disciples of all nations, right? Which then I think is problematic even to the Calvinist position. That's the issue I have with the evangelical approach. Is it's either only God can do this, or there's outside persuasion. Which is it?
I think you're making a false dichotomy. Or we could say that God is doing this and using us as his ambassadors, as I mentioned, 2 Corinthians 5. We are reconciling the earth, the people in the earth. So God is using us. That's part of his will, if you will, part of his plan to use us.
Is there part, and please, if I jump in, I want you to know, because I do try to remain as respectful and not over talk, but I'm ADHD, and if you make a point and I don't ask a clarifying question, I will forget it. So on, I try to shut up as much as I can. But on that, is there a scripture that we can refer to?
Sure, yeah. 2 Corinthians 5. 2 Corinthians 5, around maybe the 10th verse, talks about God using us, giving us the ministry of reconciliation, in those exact words. Christ gave us the ministry of reconciling those who are lost to himself. The same mission that he gave, a great commission that he gave his disciples before he descended.
All right, and just because obviously we're live on the stream right now, can you be a little more specific than just an entire chapter? That way I can look at it.
Start around the 10th verse, maybe. It's in 2 Corinthians 5. 2 Corinthians 5. And then later in that same chapter, he goes on to talk about us being his ambassadors. And as Paul says, as though God were making his appeal, right, through us, making his appeal, proving himself through us, Paul says. So we're a part of this God, what you would say, selecting people or choosing people, or bringing people to himself, or what's called evangelism. We're a part of it. We're partakers of it.
All right. Well, and I do remember 1 Corinthians 5 is to do with dealing with incest. So I'm trying to figure out where I'm supposed
2 Corinthians. Did I say first? 2 Corinthians 5.
Yeah, you definitely said first.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 Corinthians, the second letter to the church of Corinth. Ministry of reconciliation. I think there's another passage you can look at it in the cross-reference that verse. There's certainly other passages that talk about us reconciling. And then I would say from a social perspective or a moral perspective outside of salvation, we're the salt of the earth. We preserve it. Without us, there would be no protesting certain things going on in the world. Slavery was accepted as the norm until Christians protested, mainly starting in the Old Testament. The God of the Bible, Yahweh, set the punishment to death for what we call slave trafficking today. So what would the earth look like if it wasn't for the God of the Bible?
Well, Well, I
Be a
mean,
horrible place.
if we want to go if we want to go all the way back, I don't know what that I'm not, because that has nothing to do with evangelism. I want to stay on topic. I'm trying to.
I see where your head was going, Oz. I was going there too, but good idea. Good idea.
I'm going to stay on topic. But I started at 10. I'm through about verse 17 right now. I'm still not seeing anywhere where it says God, Yahweh, or Christ is you as the tool for reconciliation. I'm not saying that.
Let me look it up. Give me 1 second. 2 Corinthians 5, verse 18. The verse says this: all this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation, reconciling mankind to God.
Okay, so you're still not needed in that equation. That's my point.
Christ gave us the ministry of reconciliation, so he gave us that job.
But it's still because
Joe, we give him the glory for it. We give him all the glory, but he did give us that position or that authority. And you can read about it in Matthew 28, where he says to go baptize in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
But Jill, let's and again, respectfully, let's be brutally honest. Isn't that in trying to claim that you have now inherited the ability to reconcile another human, that you've been given that ministry? Is that not therefore putting you on the same stage, the same platform as Christ? If Christ was a true character, that Christ making the sacrifice and dying and resurrecting, is that not you now putting yourself on the same stage and platform as Christ that actually paid the price?
No, of course not. The Apostle Paul didn't think so, which is why he says in the same sentence, let me read it again: all this is from God, comma, who reconciled us to himself through Christ. So the reason why we can reconcile others is because Christ reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. So it is by his sacrifice and his reconciling us to God, Christ, to God or himself through his sacrifice on the cross. It is by that power that we are given the ministry to reconcile others.
Is there another resource for, because I'm not sure how you're pulling that, because I'm reading along with you. I have it pulled up. I'm reading along with you, and I'm reading that obviously very differently than you are. Is there an external source that we can focus on that shows that through this? Let me read it so I can hear myself, because sometimes it helps me read it out loud. I'm gonna start at 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. All this from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation, that God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. The key phrases there: we are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making us. It doesn't say that you're actually, it's as though he was making you an ambassador through him. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Because what I hear, what you're saying is you are now, I don't know if it's a doctrine thing or a theology thing. You are anyone else. I don't want to single you out, but you or anyone else that would maybe interpret it that way, or that's what you extract out of that, is you are now making yourself a middleman between the resurrection and Yahweh.
No, Christ did. Paul just said it. Who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us. So he's giving us this ministry. We didn't get it ourselves. We didn't obtain it ourselves. He is giving us this ministry. He is making us, Paul says, it's almost like he's making us ambassadors, meaning he's playing on the secular use of the term. It's almost like we're his little ambassadors are in the earth, just like if he were a country or empire or king, right? So he's just playing on that. He's using that analogy or that metaphor there. That's all that's saying. So, but it is whatever analogy or metaphor he wants to use. The point is that it all comes from God. That's where he starts out saying, all come from God.
Okay, and so if I were to believe, in this text and what I'm reading, I would agree that it is that it would come from Yahweh God, and then Jesus. If I believe in Jesus, Jesus comes down as the in human God in human flesh, and Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice for sins and nature, yada yada yada. I don't see why, if God sent Jesus and he's the whole point is to seek and save those who are lost, why there is a need for not just you or any Christian, and whether they're Calvinist, evangelical, Catholics, doesn't matter to me. Why is there a need for ambassadors if the message of the cross has already, I'm sorry, let me rewind. The presence of God should already be known through creation, and then the salvation for the salvation from sin and from eternal damnation is through Jesus, and that message has been known or been made known through the quote unquote eyewitnesses. Why in 2022 does Yahweh or Jesus or the Trinity or whatever need you or any other Christian to continue to prophesize or evangelize? Because all of these things should already be known.
Well, you're assuming that he needs us to do it. He could have done it your way, maybe put on some sort of show every 20 years so that every generation will know about him.
I never asked that, Joe.
I'm saying you're assuming that God didn't want to do it this way. This is his prerogative. This is the way he wanted to involve us. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So hold on,
I think that's a great thing.
Hold on, Nick. Hold on. So and Joe, I'm glad you brought that up. So have you ever read the book 5 Love Languages?
I have, yes.
Okay.
Long time ago, like when I'd been in grad school.
So I've read it two times for sure. I think there's a third time. Anyway, so this book, and let's go step by step, just so because I want to make sure we're still on the same page. So this book was written by a mere human like you and I talking right now, correct?
I'm sure, yeah. Did pay to those. Yeah, those words didn't just compile themselves in the right sequence. Yeah, I don't believe that. I'm a believer in Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so you know, when I do this, I'm not being sarcastic. I just want to make sure we're clear and concise.
Yes, it had an intelligent designer. So did the universe.
So the book had an author.
Yes.
And for those that haven't read it, 5 Love Languages, it's to give a really quick synopsis on it. It's knowing how to communicate or demonstrate love to the people you care about in your life, or love in your life, and how it's best demonstrated to them and communicated to them, and knowing their love language. So that book was inked, written by a person just like us talking right now. My thing is, Jill, if that was written by a mere human like us talking right now, and it does, even though I know it's a Christian-based book, it does a phenomenal job of breaking down the psychology of love and caring and empathy and sympathy. It does. I can't take anything more. It does a great job. In this, when it comes to the evangelism and the whether you want to call it God finding his way into someone's heart, or changing their heart, or changing their mind, wouldn't God be the mastermind? Would he not be the mastermind and knowing, and I don't care what anyone else in the chat thinks or feels about this right now, or even what Nick thinks or feels right now. I would hope that if God is really wanting to know me and wanting me to know him, he's going to be even better at communicating, authoring, creating a way that him and I both can share this love language and share this form of communication and share this pathway to know that, for me to understand that he is true and for me to understand that he is real. But I've yet to find that. I've yet to see that. I've yet to experience that. And it's not for the lack of trying. So the reason I share all that, Jill, is at the end of the day, when it comes down to evangelism, and if God is the Alpha and Omega, he's the beginning and the end. He's known everything. He knows the number of head of my hair, yada, 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 all that. Why has he not written a very specific one love language between me and him?
Well, he's given you, he's endowed you with certain characteristics, or what we might call attributes, but he's not in the obligation to provide you with grace, or what we call a regeneration of an individual, or a quickening. And those individuals will respond to the gospel in repentance and faith and be saved, Ephesians 2. So the only thing that we contribute to his salvation is sin. That's the only thing we contribute. All right. So God is not under any obligation. You can't twist God's arm and say, you should have elected everyone and given them the ability to know exactly who you are. That's his prerogative.
But
I'll ask God when I get to heaven why he didn't include everyone.
But Jill, I'm not even asking that right now. That's why I said I don't care about anybody in the chat, Nick. Right now, I'm talking about me.
Yeah. If you die in your sin, I'll ask him why he didn't include you.
Well, but why would he allow that though? If and I know tons of atheists have their different positions or different claims, and they can be where they're at and to talk all the crazy shit they want to, right? But for somebody that spent majority of my life being a Christian, and now I want to know, and I've said it live on here, and I'll say it in front of you, in front of anybody. I wish I could find good reason for it to be true. I wish I could, because I just lost my mom that was a Christian, a praise and worship pastor, all that, to suicide this time last year. I wish I could depend on this God to feel better, right? And I'm not trying to appeal emotion, but I am trying to show or to at least give real life scenarios and reasons why I wish that I could find a reason for it to be reliable, or good methods to believe it. So what I'm asking is not about anybody else, Nick or anybody in the chat. If I've been seeking and I've been asking, why does this God not love me enough? If he really does love me and he wants to have a relationship with me, and he wants me to live in heaven and all for eternity with him, and all I've done is ask, why has he not created just one chapter, one experience, one something that shows, Oz, I do love you and I want you to be here? Why do I not have that one love language to experience with this God?
Oh, I mean, how do you know that might not be the case in the future? I couldn't say, you couldn't say, only God knows. So we sorry to hear about your mom passing, but personal experiences are notoriously unreliable. When we say that we rely on God in the scriptures, we're saying that is what's infallible. Our lives may not go the way we want them to go, or the way we plan them, but that has no bearing on the validity of Christianity. So when I test God, I test His Word. Is what He says true? Whether it be in historically, or empirical evidence, archaeology, or whether it be his moral prescriptions. Do they correspond to reality?
But
Are
Joe,
they optimal? And the answer is always 100% yes.
but Joe, so I have to go back, and I understand the answer, and that's typically the with all due respect, that's typically the answer I get. But if God knew, if God knows me, and he, again, I don't care about anybody else right now. If he knows my pursuit and the way I view the world and the way I view humanity and the people around me, the situations around me, if he knows that, and he knows the pain, he knows the suffering, he knows all of the things that come along with all that, why would he ever allow that and not just stop it? And why does he depend on humans, therefore, to preach this message, while he just with the lack of better expression, he just continues to be a deadbeat dad that doesn't show up for his kids?
Well, he showed up for Nick Vujicic, who was born with no limbs. I don't see him
I'm
complaining.
talking about me right now.
I understand that we're talking about you, but it's not all about you.
What-
So God created a universe in which there would be contingencies that you may not be in your best interest. Sometimes in parts of your life, you may have to struggle. You may have to, your car may break down. God may want you in the hospital because there's someone that needs to hear the gospel. So God has contingency plans that have nothing to do with your comfortability. So they don't teach this in Christian circles anymore, unfortunately. But coming to Christ and being a servant of God has nothing to do with you. So Christ was selfless. He was not selfish. He wasn't concerned about himself, not my will, but thy will be done. David prayed the same prayer. That's the prayer we ought to have as believers.
Well, okay. Again, I'm gonna stay on topic because I go off on a rant on that. I'm gonna stay on topic. But the last thing, and Nick, if you have anything,
That's evangelism. That's what your evangelism team should be teaching.
well,
Um,
if it depends on what kind of impact you're wanting to make. If you're wanting to scare people into believing God, then yeah, by all means, tell them they're going to burn in hell. Tell them that God isn't really going to show up. And it's all, there's contingency plan after contingency plan. If you're wanting to have emotional based decisions to believe in God, then yes, that's the route. Because guess what, Joe? That's what I grew up in. That I grew up preaching that message, whether it was in the church, when I did street ministry, when I was in a Christian hip hop group, we were taught that. We taught that message. And I can tell you, most of the people now that made those emotional driven decisions for Christ or for God, majority, not all, but majority of them don't even go to church anymore. They're lackluster. It's because that's all. There's no investigation. There's no what do we have good reasons to believe in this? Is there good reliable evidence to believe in this? It is all emotionally driven, and that's why I'm asking, what is the point in evangelism? Because if it's God that's going to change a heart and a mind, then let God change the heart and the mind. Because these evangelical or Calvinistic approaches to evangelizing and trying to witness to people to convert them are all just based on, if you don't do this, you burn. If you don't do this, you suffer. If you don't do this, you're not part of the spiritually or religiously elite, so to speak. And that's dangerous, man.
If you don't do this, yeah, well, that sounds more like Catholicism than this Christian faith.
Well, but isn't that? I mean, that's kind of. I get what you're saying. That's kind of Calvinism, but definitely like evangelical. I grew up evangelical, charismatic, and that is very much it's not free will. It's an ultimatum. It's, you either believe this, and if you believe this, then that earns you the right or the ability to live in heaven. And if you don't, then you go to this insufferable, disgusting hell. We're going to burn. There's gnashing of teeth and blah blah blah. I don't have to go through all that.
Yes,
But
and anyone they must teach the whole counsel of God. So that should be a part of their teaching. Jesus taught about hell more than he did heaven.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
That should be a part of your teaching if you're a pastor. You must teach the entire counsel of God. Jesus taught about hell more than he did heaven. So that should be a part of your teaching. It's not meant to scare people, but it's meant to show who the boss is. When the boss comes in and introduces himself to everyone, it's not to scare you, it's to let you know who's in charge.
May I interrupt for 1 sec? Because
Not only just your body, but your soul. Jesus says, I have the ability, he says, to destroy not just the body, but the soul also.
I'm going to need to bounce. But I did want to say, Jill, it was interesting listening. So thank you very much. And this has been a great discussion, and always glad when we can have one. The only sort of comment I wanted to make, and I hopefully it'll contribute to the discussion. Oz and I share something in common, which is both of us miss our faith. I am not. It's always interesting when people quote Romans to me and they say, God exists. I remember when I did, at least when I was so convinced that I said I knew, and I spoke to him. I spoke to him every day. I spoke to him almost all the time. There is no doubt in my mind, none whatsoever, that none of that was true. And so I think Oz's point, if I'm understanding it correctly, is if you're going to suffer for not knowing or for not believing, and yet he wants to believe. Here's somebody who genuinely wants to believe, like myself. And it's true. Maybe in the future he will find faith again and convert. But statistically speaking, that's not only reasonably slim, but we all know people who are atheists who did want to find their faith again, lamented it till the day they died. If you're an ambassador for God in one way or another, why Oz or other people who truly want to see and want to believe and find that the way they've been designed, for whatever reason, they don't have the ability to believe anymore. They don't see that evidence. They have reached a different conclusion, and God could speak to them and could in some way say, I love you, I am here. And you may have terrible things may happen in your life. You may lose loved ones, you may become injured, and so on and so forth. But at a minimum, I don't think Oz is complaining about the suffering in his life or anything other than why is he expected to be able to have a relationship with God when God himself cannot seem to, or seems disinterested in saving him. And I think it's difficult. I know you, and I'm going to have to bail. So, and I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me go. So the question is, if you're an ambassador, how the answer is. Well, I'll have to ask him. I hope at least you can see, even if that we're uninformed, you can see why that's frustrating. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Oz, for letting me have that minute. I really do need to bounce. So I'll try to come back if I can, but I have to bounce. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you, Nick, and I apologize. I've been talking the whole time and not letting you in. I apologize.
No, please don't. I was listening, and the only comment I wanted to make was when it sounded like you two were talking past each other, and I had a way to I thought I could help, but you guys worked it out on your own. You didn't need my ass, so I'm out of here. Thank you so much.
Love you, Nick.
Love you too.
Yeah, Jill, and I'll bring this up, and I know there's another one or two people that messaged me. They're going to come in, but they wanted to respect the conversation. The last thing I'll bring up, and I think from I so far and talk to you, you and I are cool. I appreciate the conversation, and I want to bring this up because this is real life. And it's one thing to do the YouTube back and forth, and like I talked about even before you came on, the apologetics and the counter apologetics and all that can be fun, they can be entertaining, but I prefer to talk about real life. And I was not just preached to, but indoctrinated with, and it was pounded into my head, this fear of hell. So much so, Jill, that when I did deconstruct and deconverted and found myself in this place where it's like, okay, where am I at? Where am I going? It was like a 2-year process, Joe, that I had to go through therapy to literally repave or reformat my brain to not go to sleep having nightmares and night terrors about literally waking up in hell. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's okay. And I don't think it's healthy or okay for anyone, whether it's you or I or anyone in the chat or listens to this in the future. I don't think that that's okay. What would be your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. If you're reading the Bible and Jesus Christ, who never committed a sin, is telling you that hell exists and you're having nightmares about it, I would step in as a parent, I think. I think that was the job of the parent, to step in and teach. Why do people go to hell? People don't go to hell for not accepting Christ or what they're doing. The reason why you go to hell is because you are fundamentally flawed. You were born in sin. So
So
you go to hell for cursing out your neighbor. That's why you're going to hell. You're not going to hell because God didn't choose you or God didn't choose to speak to you. You're going to hell for cheating on your taxes. You're going to hell for voting for Biden. That's why you're going to hell.
Okay, so to go back to my point, and kind of bounce off what you said. I've grown up in, I'm the only atheist. Well, not now. My Aunt Kathy is as well, but one of two atheists in my family. The rest, my brother pastors a 700-800 member church here. My mom, before she took her life, was a music pastor. My uncle's a pastor. Like I have a family line of pastors, ministers, youth pastors, yada yada yada, all that. So I've been surrounded by it, and don't you fret. Don't you fret. I was told all the reasons why I was bad. And I was reminded of all the reasons that I was bad and disgusting. And I've been told and reminded that. But is any of that, does any of that justify someone going through any type of mental, emotional trauma? And I'm now officially diagnosed with PTSD. Jill, is that still okay in your book?
Because someone taught you the doctrine of hell, which Jesus taught?
No. Didn't teach it. Didn't just teach it to me. That it was instilled as a fear.
Right. And Jesus said that there will be gnashing of teeth, wailing and gnashing of teeth. Does that conjure up any sort of picture in your head? It does in mine. I didn't have nightmares about hell, however. But surely the author in scripture is using metaphors with sharp teeth on purpose, I think, to paint a picture in the mind of the reader and show the seriousness of sin and what sin does and how it separates us from God for eternity. So I think that's what the author is communicating, is that we are all born with basically without passports to heaven. Okay, so we are born with basically a first class ticket to hell. You cannot dwell with God in eternity in the state that you're on, or what's called the Adamic state. So God then decides to choose and bring people to himself, or call people out of that state, and we call that regeneration. That's his prerogative. He doesn't choose everyone. He does choose from every nation, tongue, tribe, but not everyone is chosen to live with God for eternity. Now, the question I would ask you is, how do you know you're not one of those people that God chose?
Well, but before we even get there, do you think that, because I'm talking about from like my youngest memories, do you think that it's healthy, and do you think that it's profitable?
It is, yes.
Okay, so real quick, will you allow? Do you have children, Jill?
Well, I cannot answer any personal questions.
Okay, well, I'll tell you right now. I have four children. Okay. I have no problem talking about it. I have 4 children, and I have no problem talking to them or with them about anything. And as I said earlier, I make it a very, very asserted effort to not teach them what to think, but how to think. But there are particular things that I will not allow them to watch on a TV or a movie screen because I understand the damage that it can do, or the traumatic experience that can happen there. The reason I bring that up is using hell as a tool of fear with a child is equivalent in a child's mind. I'm talking about children. In a child's mind, to introducing them to the most horrific, disgusting horror film that you could allow your child to sit and watch, that you have put in front of them, that you are allowing them to watch. It's the same impact. It's the same thing. Now, you don't have to agree with me, but if you
For
talk
some,
to,
apparently.
if you talk to psychiatrists, you talk to psychologists, you talk to therapists, it's the same effect and the same traumatic responses happen. So I wonder, I wonder almost every day how any Christian parent can put this idea of hell and gnashing of teeth and burning of skin for eternity in front of a child. It's abusive and it's traumatic.
Well, the scriptures don't care to sugarcoat reality. So neither should parents. Parents should be warning their children about the dangers of hell so that they can warn others so that they don't go there. That's a good thing. And blessed is the man that endureth temptation. So trials and tribulations, according to scripture, those are good things. You shall receive the crown of life. Scriptures teach in the book of James, I believe.
Well, Jill, I think
Those are the martyrs.
well, I'll do this because, like I said, I always want to promote healthy conversations, and so and we've done that, and I want to say I know you may or may not have, and I don't know enough about you, but you may or may not have a reputation of having good or civil conversation, whatever. But ours has been peaceful, and ours has been good. I'm going to, because I had one or two other people message me that want to jump on, but like I said earlier, are being respectful to our conversation. If there's anything you want to say in closing, I want to be able to do that. That way your experience.
Oh, they want to come on here with me?
No, different topics, and we'll wrap. We will wrap this part up and move on to different topics. But I want to be respectful. If there's anything you want to say before,
how do you know, despite everything that's happened during your lifetime, how do you know that God hasn't chosen you to live with Him for eternity? How do you know that?
Because I have no good reason to. There's nothing in front of me to demonstrate that.
So, despite the countless examples of followers of Christ in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, suffering, persecuting, Christ Himself even being persecuted, an innocent man, despite all of those examples of people suffering and still yet being children of God, how do you know, based on your suffering, which I don't mean to diminish, but by way of comparison to a Christ suffering or Paul's suffering even, Paul was almost stoned to death on a number of occasions just for preaching the gospel. So how is your suffering in any way militating against the possibility of you being chosen when every single character chronicled in scripture who were chosen of God suffered and some even died? How do you know you're not one of those who are enduring temptation and trials and in the end will receive a crown of life? How do you know that?
Dude.
You don't.
No.
Okay, so that's what evangelism does. Evangelism.
Jill, I did not do that to you. I did not do that to you.
Do what?
I did when anytime I said something or asked, I'd let you talk. Don't do that.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. We're, like I said before you even jumped on. If you're cool, I'm cool. If not, I'll jump in. My position with the way you frame that anyway is if if the God of the Bible is going to live up to his definition of love, spelled out in Corinthians, and he's going to be a God of his own character, his own integrity, I don't see why me, you, or anybody in the Old Testament or New Testament or beyond should be subjected to having to suffer in order to prove themselves worthy of being accepted. Suffering is should be the last resort in trying to earn someone's loyalty or love or commitment. I would never do that. Like I said, I have no problems. I have 4 kids. I would never expect any of my 4 kids to suffer in order to prove their love or loyalty to their father, ever.
Well, God would never do that either. He would never do that.
But he's doing that. That's what you
No,
just
no, I never said that. That's not what God's doing. He's not doing it to prove so you can prove you're one of his. Look how much I'm suffering for you. Let me take out some snakes and let them bite me. No, that's that's not what the scriptures teach. But I understand what you're saying. But the scriptures in no way teach that concept.
Well, no, okay, because I want to
Instead, it teaches that those who God chooses will suffer. That's all, because they're suffering for Christ's sake. So, you'll be tested. You'll be banned from YouTube. You'll be blocked from Twitter. Now, of course, those things pale in comparison, but to those who are really being persecuted in Muslim nations, Christians, that is, Christianity is still the most persecuted religion in the entire planet, on the entire planet. That's what Jesus was referring to. You're suffering because the prince of this world, the prince of darkness, doesn't like you. That's why you're suffering. So he wants to do everything he can to have you come to the conclusion that you've come to today.
Okay, so for time purposes and being respectful, again, I'm doing these like once, maybe twice a week, whatever. If you catch us again, by all means, jump in. As long as it's respectful, I'm cool. But I'll wrap this part of the conversation up and move on. But Joe, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, sure. When do you go live usually?
I work in a comedy club full time.
Oh, okay. Are you a comedian?
I do a little bit of comedy, but I do I bartend, I do security, I do a little bit of everything at the club. But yes, I also do stand up.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So, well, I'm live every Sunday. Not every Sunday, but I try to go live on Sundays around noon. So if you want to join me for conversation, I love answering questions on the Bible or about the Bible, contradictions, answering those types of, I'll say, increase. But yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And
Yep.
yeah, think about what I said, please. Okay.
Nope, I got you. And I rewatch all the streams later. So
all right. Take care. Bye-bye.
thanks, man. I need a drink. And big shout out again to Drew, the genetically modified skeptic, because had I not listened to his advice, that would have went, 2 months ago now, that would have went sideways, because I would not, nope, that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't happen. But I know we stayed on topic, and I saw a couple comments in the chat, whatever. But I will say I appreciate that it stayed respectful, and it remained cool. And even though I yeah, when it comes to the abusive and traumatic traumatic points of Christianity, I can now, because I'm not inundated, or sorry, I am not choosing to and clicking buttons to inundate myself in a lot of the toxicity. It's much easier now for me to have those conversations, as we just saw, and me not blow gaskets. So yeah, so I saw, I won't name names, but I saw a couple private messages come through. So if y'all want to join, I'll give another 15, 20 minutes, and we can talk. We could break it down. But in the meantime, while I wait to see if the folks that messaged me want to jump in, I'll go back to the Vigia while I wait. Gracias. Gracias. Provide for you. And I know what you meant. Proud of you. Yeah, where's Wes? Let's talk about let's talk about mythicism. Let's talk about mythicism. Why? Because Jesus is a myth. Oh, what's that on my wrist? What's that say? No God? Yeah, that's permanently there. No God. No God. Thanks, Nick, and thanks for hanging out. And I'm sorry I did not allow you to say a goddamn word. I'm an asshole. But while we wait to see if the others want to jump in, I'll go back to the Vigia.
They're not in a position to receive the truth. Okay, tip number 6, be ready to share your personal testimony. Now, I say this with some caution because for many Christians, this is about as far as we get in terms of sharing our faith. We say, well, you know what? I don't really know anything. I don't know the Bible. I don't know any truth. I don't know any scriptures. I don't know anything. I don't even know how to tell you about what the gospel is, but I just know what God did for me, and I know how God changed my life. That is very important. There should be some life change that you should be able to tell someone else whenever they're asking you about why you are a believer. But this alone is not enough oftentimes to adequately share your faith with someone, because there are many religious systems throughout the world that boast and make claims that people's lives have been changed. I mean, the person you're talking to could say, yeah, that's great, but I have a friend who just became a Muslim and they follow the rules and laws of Islam and all the teachings of Islam, and their life has been changed too.
Oh, contraire. What if I told you that I had a friend that, oh, should I? Assalamu alaikum. Oh, should I? I should. What if I told you I had a friend that he was only convinced because of the kalamological? What if I told you that I had a friend that was convinced to believe in Islam simply based on the cosmological argument? He didn't know shit about the Quran. He didn't know shit about the Quran. You know, Shane, you know what I mean. You know, in context of the stream. But yes, he's not my friend anymore. He knows that. And I'll go on record just so it's not confused. So Justin Downing, now Khalil is not my friend. He's a former friend that I helped any way I could before he was Khalil and it's heartbreaking. But he did accept this shit on some philosophical bullshit. The cosmological argument. Yes. And I appreciate it. Nicholas, I saw what happened. Oz was a gentleman, supported his friend as an atheist or a Muslim. Was the first I saw of Oz. That was a shit. And I did. And I absolutely fucking did. And I actually, for a minute, went down in flames. I went down in flames until all the recent shit came out. And then I made a complete separation because, nah, not on my watch, homie. Nah, dog. Nah, dog. Oh, hey, what you trying to say, girl? What you trying to say? Again, I appreciate the love. I do.
So what makes Christianity any different? So you should be ready to share your testimony, but don't just rely on testimony. You must also have some truth along with your testimony. And then,
God damn it, I went back in the video and see it. So there was two, maybe three others that wanted to jump in, and one or two want to talk about mythicism. You know, which is kind of that's my bag, that's my joint. Let's get it.
and the seventh and final tip might be the most important one, and that is this: trust God, the Holy Spirit, to lead and guide you throughout the entire process of you sharing your faith. One of my favorite scriptures is Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 through 20. We call it the Great Commission, and this is the last thing that Jesus said. He says, "Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them."
Mr. Parr, this is difficult. This is difficult because this is what we just talked about. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this: I am with you always, even to the end of the age. And my mythicist guest just jumped backstage. So give me 1 second, because now I'm getting all excited because I love mythicism more than anything. But again, this scripture, and it was referred to earlier, but why are we commanded to, if I'm a believer, why am I commanded to go make disciples of all nations? If I'm not the one that can actually make disciples of all nations, that at the end of the fucking day, it's just, if I'm a believer, I plant the little seed, I do a little water, I have a sprinkler system, I aerate and irrate, and I do all that. But at the end of the day, God does all, like God's the one that does the convincing. And why? Why? I don't understand. All right, so let me damn video move. There we go. So I have a guest that I don't know if he wants to encourage and endorse my position as a mythicist or wants to challenge me, but we'll make sure it's fun regardless. But this one we definitely have to have a proper introduction. Everybody, first have a drink. Are you ready?
Oh, that's for the real apples. Yeah, man. You looking like the devil who created you. Uh-oh. We have producer West in the building.
I'm here.
And
well, I'm presenting my face for once.
And he actually put his camera directed to his face.
Yeah. I thought I'd do that for your audience. Be respectful.
Yeah.
Show my face. Go on camera. So, the 24th, I hear you're going to be on some show to talk about mythicism.
I
hope you can hear me.
Oh, I can. Okay. There's a place and a time that we're going to talk about that Jesus is fabricated.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'm still agnostic myself. I don't know. But I appreciate both positions, and we'll see what happens.
Well, but hold on. So now I'm going to evangelize.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. If they can evangelize, I'm going to evangelize. Wes, if we're skeptics first, not atheists, we're skeptics first. Yeah. Why is there a good reason to concede or to play the position that there was a Jesus? We don't do that for Yahweh, right?
No.
All right, so why for Jesus? Why do we do? Why as a skeptic first? Why would we do that?
I think it's more likely Pat was on something that is probably, I believe it was King Arthur, that they say was partly made up from several characters in history. And I think that may be more likely, but than just Paul making it all up on his own. But Paul did make up Christianity for the most part anyway. Let's be honest.
Well, I've probably 100 times I've said it. But Paul is the first CEO and mastermind between the first behind the first MLM ever, which is Christianity, the Apostle Paul. Yeah. But still going back to it, because you did actually address my question. If we don't concede Yahweh because of the lack of evidence, why should any skeptic, and I'm very intentionally and specifically leaving the word atheist out of the equation, as a skeptic, why would we concede Jesus when we don't concede Yahweh?
I think it's a better case because it's a historian point of view that we can. Do you believe in Socrates?
That's
for instance. I think that's a better comparison than most, just because there is evidence somewhat, because you have different. With Jesus, you don't have many people talking about him in his lifetime. It's all after there. 100 years almost until he's talked about. So yeah, I'm definitely agnostic about it and willing to say there's not much evidence for him.
Okay, so you still didn't answer the question. So I'm going to continue to pin you down.
Because
why as a skeptic, and remember, I'm like, throw the word atheist out of it, because that's a lack of belief, not belief in God. I'm talking about as a skeptic. Why would you concede a Jesus argument and not a Yahweh argument? Because we have a lack of evidence on both ends.
That's tough, because I haven't looked into enough to find many good opposing oppositions. I've talked to Richard Carrier, I've talked to Price. I don't necessarily agree with everything they say, but I do find some of their arguments compelling. To at least that, and of course we both agree that Jesus didn't exist as the Bible portrays. But this is specifically whether he existed as a model for the biblical. So I don't know if there's much other than like he's got a brother James supposedly.
But now you're reasoning like a theist.
Yeah, somewhat.
Now you're like what the what ifs and the what ifs and the what ifs.
Yeah.
Right. It's what does the evidence show us? So there is no, and this is where maybe it's a different stance between myself and your traditional mythicist, and I have recently more learned and become more aware of my difference in this, which I think is going to be great for the conversation we're going to have later. But
too.
I don't care anything about a historical Jesus if the divine is not attributed to that character. Because if the divine is not attributed and connected to that character, guess what? That means the Jesus of the Bible is a myth.
Oh, I think we all agree on that.
Okay,
that's not mythicism, though. That is whether there is a historical Jesus.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's where.
Based on that.
But that's where like definite words.
Yeah.
Words and definitions change all the time. We know that, right?
Yeah.
So I think there has to be this new. There has to be this kind of adoption, so to speak. Not a complete change, but this adoption of. No, I'm not saying that there was never a dude named Jesus, because that's like saying there's in 2022 there's not a dude named John or Luke or Paul or whatever. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. What I'm saying is there's not a dude named Jesus that was also the Christ. That was also this thing, and it was not. Because even if we take all of these combinations of there was this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and we took them all and combined them and created this Jesus the Christ, that still makes Jesus the singular character, Jesus the Christ of the Bible, it still makes that a myth.
I think that instead of a myth, you should use the word legend. Because I think he's definitely a legend. Whether he existed, maybe that is a myth. But I think what you're getting at is if he's a legend, a guy talked about and made a hero. Which I don't think that's a thing. I don't think you believe that either. I think you're more in the camp that he didn't. I don't know.
Well, and this is where I'd go back to what Nicholas Sulcher said when he was on earlier. It's sometimes it's to really challenge things and open things up for conversation. You don't have to be afraid of the hot take. And anybody that knows me, I'm not afraid of the hot take. And I may look like a dumbass, or I may look like a genius. I don't give a fuck. But is this like, how long do we patty cake it and pretend like it may be this or may be that? But at the end of the day, why are we conceding this when there's no like a history? Let me ask you this: if you were a Christian, Wes, if I could only demonstrate to you that there was a historical Jesus that was never that was never responsible for walking on water, healing the dead, turning water into wine, dying and rising after 3 days. If I could only prove to you that there was a dude named Jesus that existed, minus all of that, would that mean anything to you?
Only if I agreed with his philosophy. I may say I am a Stoic or something if I agreed with his philosophy. But that would be the limit to the word, and I certainly wouldn't be a Christian as a religion. I would only be a like-thinking person in their philosophy or their whatever, you know.
Well, but without the crucifixion and more importantly the resurrection, Christianity goes down. That goes down the toilet.
Yeah, as far as a religion, totally. Yeah, we agree on that.
And that's my whole point, and why I take a hard stance here is because
I don't. That's my position from the beginning. Is I don't take that position.
Oh yeah, and
because I don't. I'm trying to for the show. I was trying to come up with some good reasons because you asked, but no, I don't have any stake in the claim. No.
Right.
I don't have held it.
For the record now, for Wes and even for their channel, Wes does not share my position. We're bouncing off each other, but but that is 100% my position as a Christian. If there's a Jesus, cool, bro. There's plenty of Lukes and Johns and Marks and everything that have ran around this world for how long, right? But if we can't attach the divinity, and more importantly for the Christians, if we don't have direct evidence for the crucifixion and more importantly the resurrection, why, like, your shit goes down the toilet.
I think it's merely a historian point of view, but I totally agree with you. I'm just saying it's more of a historian whether he existed or not. It is the same as did Socrates exist or not. It is actually also the same as Moses. I think I saw a video Pat just did on most theologians don't believe Moses existed. If he didn't exist, why does any of the following exist? I thought he made a great point there. If he's in chat, bring him on. Because I thought that was great.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a minute, but I mean, if anybody's, I got about 20 minutes left. Anybody can jump in, but that's the whole thing, and I know people are
that's just as important though, whether Moses did, whether Noah, any of these other Abraham, any of these other people existed. That's just as important because that laid the groundwork for anything after that. If you don't have that, do you have even Christianity to fall back on? Those are the roots. So,
Yeah, and there's a couple comments in the chat. I'll bring up and address real quick because I know they're they're addressing it with me because I'm on one right now. Oz would say that Midas didn't exist because there's a legend about him. Legends mean nothing to anybody can have a legend. Yeah. It's when people start attributing supernatural to the legends. That's when I say bullshit until proven otherwise. So is it what you mean by concede Jesus that he was resurrected? Because only Christians concede the divine Jesus.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. And yes, I understand that only Christians concede that, but that's what. If you're in America, that's close to 50% of our population believe that there was a resurrected Jesus, and they won't do the homework. They won't seek shit out. And I do know. Pat said he's in bed, and the wife said I'm listening. And
okay.
By all means, hang out there. And Pat and I, we agree on some things, but there's other things that we do not agree on. And I think, if I remember right, Pat would more align with the legend of Jesus, or more importantly, the combining of character.
Yeah.
If I
that was my understanding. We talked a couple hours on it, and that's what I believe it was. And I still loved his version of it. I thought it was very skeptical, but still rational thinking on it. And I like to think my view is pretty skeptical too. Because I really don't know. And that's where I'm sticking my flag. I don't know.
Well, and when I say in here,
for a historical, clearly historical standpoint.
Okay, and that's a very important defining line, because let me bring this up, because I think there is a difference here. So what you just said was, and then Shane says, so when you ask why as skeptics do we concede Jesus, you were talking about the religious population of America. No, because if Shane, I think you've been present for one, maybe two of them, but I can't tell you how many times I've folks have attempted to crucify me for taking any sort of position on mythicism, like literally, like came after me. So it's not just religious population. There are atheists that will argue the historical Jesus as if that's important, as if a historical Jesus has any meaning or impact on the world. No, a historical Jesus has zero impact. It's the divine Jesus, the supposed divine Jesus, that has made the cultural and historical impact. So no, it's not just the religious community. And we've had streams on it where there's been plenty of atheists that would love to have grilled me and served me to their gods.
I can name one at least. Can I mention him?
Sure, I don't care.
I would like to see you and Leo kind of go at it, only because Leo did understand some of the argument. I just think he's totally wrong. But I do respect Leo though. He is a smart guy.
I love Leo.
He just happens to be wrong on this issue.
I love Leo, and we have disagreed on one, two, maybe three different topics, but on that one, as long as we stay calm, I have no problem with that conversation.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't calm, and that's the problem. Yeah.
That's where I was like, I'm gonna dip out, because now it's getting to personal insults and that kind of shit.
It's gonna get to that.
Leo's arguing about historical Jesus, not divine Jesus, so that's not how Oz defines mythicism. Well, no, mythicism has nothing to do with well,
Well, that's kind of right, I think. Shane's got a point here. That
well,
is how you are talking about it.
it
I'm
depends.
talking more of a historical Jesus. You are talking. I think that's kind of accurate, from my understanding, at least.
I was reading it fast. Let me slow down.
Yeah.
Leo was arguing about the historical Jesus, not the divine Jesus. So that's not how Oz defines mythicism. Okay, that's fair.
Unless you change,
Now,
unless you start changing it, that's fair too.
I slowed down. I reread it, so I will stand corrected. Yeah, yes, he is arguing that there's a dude named Jesus. That's like me right now saying, Wes, debate me on the fact that there may be another person named Wes that's walking the earth.
Yeah.
Right now. So what? So what?
Yeah. Then you got to figure out: is he a Trump supporter or a Biden supporter? Is he a socialist or is he a conservative or what? You know.
Yes, and I will.
And so many more things like that. I'm just making a point that what was the historical Jesus like, if he existed at all? That's a whole nother question too. That you know, I don't think he was riding a dinosaur though, and I don't think he was voting for Trump.
And what's up, Stilet? Yeah, Oz has a slight variance in the definition of mythicism, and I do because I know traditionally, like old school mythicists are like the whole thing is just a myth. There was no dude ever named Jesus, and I was part of a Discord conversation with Pat and Shane the Skeptic and others, and I was like, no, I want to better know and understand, my position. And actually, after that conversation, I do understand that I do have variances. And I love the way that's put. I do have a variance on it, but I still do proudly, by the way, consider myself a mythicist. It's just the difference is, I don't think because you can say there was a dude named Jesus, which for the record, we don't even really have good solid record of that. If I can be clear, we still don't even have a solid record of that. For all the people that want to pile on Oz for evidence and the historicity and historical accuracy of a dude named Jesus, we still don't even have good record for that. So even if I can see that, I'm doing you a goddamn favor. But then to go to the claim of divinity, get the fuck out of here, bro. We have none, and this is where I get pushback. Is why are you? Sorry, let me reframe it. Why do some atheists find it okay, acceptable, whatever, to concede a historical Jesus, but will never, ever, ever, ever concede a Yahweh? Because the only thing that you're depending on, even for a historical Jesus, are almost the same literatures or writings or whatever that talk about Yahweh. Like, why aren't you conceding Yahweh?
I can kind of see why I could give some pushback to that.
Oh, please help.
Not that there's any evidence really for walking Jesus, but I think it's ridiculous to believe a man was God. Of that alone, I think is unbelievable to not. I would never think that, and never have, just because why would a man be something comparable with God? It's a locality issue. It's a lot of problems there. Where God, I don't believe in because it's never been defined. I cannot get a theist to really define it well. And without a definition, why should I accept anything like that? That is totally different. Then Jesus, on the other hand, is a historical supposedly figure that you can argue one way or the other, and way much more likely that there could be a Yeshua living there sometime. Who knows? And it doesn't matter. Whereas God does matter. To me.
Well, but even in the
A
chat,
lot
so,
more.
so let me go through some of these comments and help
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
And Shane,
I'm not able to read them right now, so
yeah, I'll pull them. And Shane Billowitz, you bring up some interesting comments or observations, and if you're able to, if you're not, it's cool. But if you're able to join, I'd love for you to join, because to me anyway, this is important. Hard and soft mysticism, or strong and weak mysticism, etc. Almost comparing it to the hard or soft atheism. So I get that.
Okay.
But I'm not
like
even. I'm saying it's you when it comes to the Jesus character.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be, this is supposed to be a human. This is not, Yahweh is supernatural.
Yeah.
Right. But this Jesus character is supposed to be someone that walked the earth, yada yada. We have no good reason to actually believe that physically or supernaturally that this motherfucker exists, or there's divinity or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that. What is it? I would see the historical Yahweh, like he was a dude that was really powerful.
Does he mean Yeshua? I think he means Yeshua, not Yahweh.
He says Yahweh. So I won't read the rest of it. Shane, do you mean Yahweh or Yeshua? And then I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Yahweh could have been a dude who inspired tall tales. Well, we definitely know that whether he's a dude or not, he inspired tall tales.
Yahweh is the Christian God, not Yeshua.
Yeah, but Yahweh has never been interpreted as Yeshua or Jesus or Jesus Christos or any of that.
So I'm confused by both those statements, but yeah, go ahead, and I hope they'll rephrase it or clarify.
And this is Henry Hansen. Hold on, where's my? God damn it! God damn it.
Oh, okay.
Where's my? No, this is not from Shane, but this is. They are both as historical as the other. Period.
Well, Yahweh was a myth of the Canaanite pantheon, so I'll concede.
Oh, you heard it here. Oh,
you heard it. You heard it. I need drink too.
Holy fucking shit! We're out here doing the work of the Lord. We're out here doing the work of the Lord. God, Yahweh. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go back to the original comment. I would see the historical Yahweh, like he was a dude that was really powerful. I'm sorry, a really powerful warrior. And they made him into one of the gods. And then he became the only God. And again,
okay.
Wes, you tell me how you feel.
Okay. I jumped on it too soon. Sorry about that.
And well, I think we both did, because it was like historical Yahweh, but let's read that. I will concede a historical Yahweh, like he was a dude that was a really powerful warrior, and they made him into one of the gods, and then he came. Then he became the only God. So here's the problem for me, Wes, and I'll let you follow up.
Okay.
That is literally describing my issue with Jesus the Christ. Is there may have been a historical Jesus that they wanted to attribute all these things to, because maybe he was doing all these end of day preachings, and everything was apocalyptic and yada yada yada. But that does not make him Jesus the Christ. And why would I ever concede that until it's demonstrated to be true?
No. As far as this goes, I've never heard that they thought Yahweh was a person that was a powerful warrior, but I would like to hear more about that, because I didn't know that. I do know he was a Canaanite god, and then seemed to come over to a monotheistic Hebrew religion. So, but the first part of that I didn't know.
And Slot says, and this is fair, but I think I can come back around this. There was a time when humans were less smart, and Yahweh, El, Zeus could have been based on really strong and smart humans leading clans and villages. That could be fair, and that could be whatever. But now, over being able to recover any type of ancient text, artifacts, archaeological evidence, we would come to know, like, are these myths? Is there a god named Yahweh or Zeus? Yeah. Is the lightning really coming from Zeus's hand, or is it coming from the sky? You know what I mean?
I don't agree with all that statement really, but the gist of it I think I agree with. As far as, yeah, they were gods in the sky that were making an explanation, or they were just an explanation, a bad one, for the lightning and everything that we saw. I think is one interpretation that's at least part of it, of why we had gods.
Well, and Wes,
I would like Josh and Pat's input on that, though.
Well, I think they're both in bed at this point, but I do.
Yeah.
Let's say that
for sure.
we do have a very important comment in the chat just for you, so we have to play the music.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Woo! Tequila Sunrise, by the way.
Oh,
and
tequila.
I made it strong.
Oh,
I didn't know how to make those. Not quite so strong, but
got a stiffy. Got a stiffy.
Yeah.
Jena said, "Yay, he concedes. Thank you for making my night short." JesusIsAMyth.com. Yeah. Well, I think we can wrap it up here like a burrito or a condom or however.
Taco or something.
But what's that date for the Mythos conversation?
The 24th. And we have Oz, we have David Fitzgerald, we have Logan Daughtery, we have probably Jason, Dragons of Genesis, and probably Godless Engineer. They are still unsure. So is Derek Lambert.
Derek's not even a mythicist.
Yeah, he's not. But we need pushback.
He's a fake.
We need some fun.
He's a phony. He's a fraud.
We need pushback, though.
He's a fake and a phony and a fraud. I'm kidding.
And one other guy, I cannot remember his name, but yeah, it should be a fun time.
For the record,
tomorrow
Derek's my homie. Derek's my homie, for the record.
Yeah.
But Derek Lambert is a fake, a phony.
And he admits it.
Jesus is still a myth, Derek. I don't give a shit what all of your smart people have told you. They're lying. They're snakes in the grass. They're like sheep amidst the wolves. Or something like that the Bible says.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for jumping on, Wes, and talking about mythicism, which I always thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, me too. I've loved the conversation, and I love your stance on it as well with the Christ-like mythology part of it. I like that stance. I don't think it's exactly what they're talking about, but I do like that stance and that clarification of the historical versus a more mystical side of it. So, I don't think I said that very well, but I think you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, and that's where I.
And there we agree totally. as does everybody in the chat almost. So
I actually think that not all, but I think most
Yeah.
people would probably align with your position, and even Leo's and the others we talked about.
yeah. Wait, what is my position? I am totally agnostic about it. I don't know.
Well,
But
that's what I'm saying.
existed. Okay.
But that's what
Okay.
like is, and that's what kills me. That's what kills me about the
Yeah.
skeptic / atheist community. They claim to be agnostic, but as soon as I say
Yeah.
no, mythicism, they're like, "Arr." I'm like, damn, I thought you were agnostic. You act like you got a you got some skin in the game here, bro.
But stay skeptical. That's all I gotta say. Those are gonna be my last words.
Yeah,
stay skeptical.
I'll agree. Stay skeptical. But for me, I refuse to stay skeptical. No, I'm always a skeptic first, but I do follow evidence and the lack thereof, and the lack of evidence suggests that there's no good reason to believe that Jesus dude was a Jesus Christ that did all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
And I have no problem putting my shit online, and I'll be passionate and talk about it, and not give a fuck. Anyway, what's anything you want to say before you dip out?
Come see the show with Oz, everybody else, and always stay skeptical. That's it.
Skeptical. All right. Well, thanks, Wes, for hanging out. I'm gonna kick you off here and do a couple announcements, and then I'm gonna
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, pardon me. I'm gonna take a moment here, because that was a lot. That was a lot over the last 2 hours. No, producer Wes is not a bot. Oh, my music left. God damn it. Fucking bored. All right, one more time, unless there's a super chat, but one more time. Laid back. Yes, do a little recap, because I feel like that's necessary for those that watch this later, even though this went a little longer than I intended, but not too much. I won't even talk about the mythicism part of it, because we can talk about that on the stream with Wes next week. But going back to the conversation with we know Jill, we know who. We have a super chat. I always have to do this first, or I'll forget. Yay. Thank you. $9.99. Keep being awesome. I will do my goddamn best. I promise that. I can't promise anything above that, but I'll do my goddamn best, and I appreciate your support. Thank you as always. But the mythicism conversation will probably last until the time I'm gone. and probably when my kids are gone, because Christians in America won't let that shit go. And unfortunately, I think it's built into the fabric of our country, our society, our politics. It's built in that they're and this is not me talking shit at all. Like, believe me, because I said it when I was talking to Jill. There's still portions of me that want to believe that this shit is real, but I believe there's always going to be a fabric. Not always, for a long time. There's still going to be a fabric of this thing that we hold on to, that we don't. Portions of it we just don't want to believe that it could be a myth. Like that 100, like literally 100% of this shit could be a myth. I believe, me included, we want to believe that not 100% of it is a myth. 100% of it is fabricated. And I get it. I get it. But going back to the conversation with Jill. Number one, I will say it now, that I've been able to deep breath and recover. For me personally, I actually got to personally see and feel and experience what it was like to not get emotionally triggered and not spiral, because I've been doing a very, very good job of managing and literally choosing what I do and don't allow to enter my thought life and my process. And this is probably the first stream I've had with what I know is a well-known YouTube apologist, whether he got to go into his hateful shit or not. I got to put a notch in my belt, and knowing that I'm growing and knowing that I'm getting better, which was my whole shit after the conference, and with what Drew, genetically modified skeptic, said, and something that I've tried to since then apply to my day-to-day life. And that was that through all this, like, we can have fun talking about mythicism, but that was a huge win for me tonight, because prior to Better, that would have been a shit show. That would have been a shit. That would have been a dumpster fire. I know that. I know that. That deserves a fucking drink. And yes, well, bedpost, maybe not bedpost, but yeah, the oil in the train. I've told Jena, I have told my kids, I'm so tempted to buy like a 100-gallon drum of WD-40 and pour it on that fucking goddamn train track. But no, I think it's, I won't say we. I'm very. I'm typically very quick to point out my flaws and where I fuck up, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we need to be transparent and be honest and vulnerable, and do those things, but also celebrate when we know we win, whether people do acknowledge it, and you all have, and I appreciate it, but we need to be able to look in the mirror and acknowledge it. And I know tonight, in that regard, that conversation, that was a win for me. That was a huge step for me. And it may seem small or insignificant or little to some people, but where I was at a short 3-4 months ago, I would have went the fuck off. I would have went the fuck off when it came to the abuse and the trauma and hell and the fear of hell and therapy and yada, 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 all that. I would have lost my shit. The answer is always yes, Wes. It's always yes. But yeah, that's my wrap up of the show. And yeah, this is one of those late night streams that I can actually end it. Fuck it. This is one of the rare streams in the last 6 months or whatever. Anyway, that I can sign off and I can wrap it up and not be embarrassed and humiliated and not delete the shit. That's badass. For me, that's badass. It may not mean anything to anybody else, but that's badass. So I appreciate y'all hanging out. Thank you. And even though there's a lot of people that probably don't like Jill, I don't know that much about Jill, but don't care much for Jill or whatever. I'm thankful for Jill jumping in because it tested my progress and my learning and my being able to grow. And I literally got to watch that and I got to see that and I needed that. And I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And this is what TANG's all about, is being authentic, transparent, vulnerable, and learning and getting better every single fucking time that we do this shit. So I will see y'all probably, well, Bar this weekend, Bar wants to have another freestyle battle. He texted me earlier. So I'll probably see you again this weekend. But love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Take care of each other. Do what I do.
It's been a minute. I've been a minute. Fucking up the premise there. You can call me Guinness. I dropped all that bullshit. Give me one sentence. Fuck your repentance. Yup. Y'all know me. I need that evidence. And don't insult my intelligence. Nah. Show me. Need that evidence. 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 Yeah. You're dramatic, erratic. Your tactics, bombastic. There's no Socratic. But those gymnastics, that's problematic. You're emphatic, static. You assume's automatic. But that's symptomatic. Especially when I demand proof and you don't have